Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video we are going to take a real quick look at this Relicanth from Shieldon Knives. Over the past year or so, Shieldon Knives has been making a little bit of a name for themselves, putting out some really nice, reasonably affordable folding knives. Now this here, the Relicanth, I've had my hands on a number of models, but this is the one that's really resonated with me the most. For the most part, I do tend to be sort of the hard-used fixed blade type of guy, but bottom line is I absolutely always have a folder in my pocket. This Relicanth now at this point has sat in my pocket for a few weeks, which for a knife reviewer is a pretty good amount of time. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take you through this in a little bit of detail so that you can see why for me it's been an obvious choice for an everyday carry. But with that said, I have a whole bunch to do and a whole bunch to share with you. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Shieldon Knives who did provide this product for review. Now again, Shieldon Knives has been making a name for themselves over the past year or so, maybe a little bit more than that, but really at this point getting their process dialed in. They have a number of models that have become the staple in their line, and the lineup is growing. This here in sort of the second wave of products coming out of Shieldon Knives. Very nice. Generally speaking, great fit and finish. Generally speaking, nice materials, and something that for me really fits perfectly for the everyday carry scenario. Now, Shieldon does have some slightly more premium models, but for the most part, they've hit that sort of middle range, not super budget, but not super high end, just that nice middle range, $60 to $90 range, which is awesome for an everyday user. This Relicanth definitely fits that niche between the price, the general materials, but really for me, it's the features. It's how the knife fits in my hand, it's the size, it's just the general blade shape, and the fact that this is really, in my opinion, about the perfect EDC style. And so if you've been watching my channel, you probably realize I do like the hiking, camping, and backpacking genre. I also like tactical gear. And this is really just a great blade shape for both of those scenarios. Now, the first thing I'm going to point out, this is on ball bearings, so a nice deployment. You'll see here a little bit drop shutty, which is really cool. So if you're into that sort of fidget factor, you definitely get it here with the Relicanth. Now, personally, for me, where I am sort of more of that hard user, the fact that it's on bearings, it's a little bit of a hit or a miss. I mean, it's nice having the action, but at the same time, a little bit of gunk and grime can really foul things up. So you do need to be just a little bit careful when you're talking about bearings in that pivot assembly. But I have not had any problems just yet using this as an everyday carry. Granted, I haven't really gotten it into any sand or dirt or grime or anything like that. But what really catches me here, it's the blade shape. I just love this sort of classic drop point. It is a high saber grind, so as you can see, a little bit of a a flat up there, so you end up with a high saber grind into an unsharpened swedge. Fairly nice and refined tip, yet at the same time stout enough. But it's sort of the fact that you just get a really nice purchase on here. I love just the general ergonomics and the shape of the blade. My thumb just indexing here literally perfectly. Nice and comfortable. Good purchase on the knife. And a full handle. Just a nice full handle. No problem. You can see here a full 4-finger grip. Indexing nicely. And again, just my thumb falling just about perfect on top. Now there is some mild jimping up on top of the blade. That works out very well. And then beyond that, what Shieldon's been doing that I definitely enjoy, they've been doing some sort of 3D machine patterns in their handle scales. So here, this tan, so it's sort of like a desert tan, or I wouldn't really call this coyote. It's not quite deep enough, but it's sort of that desert tan with G10 and that nice raised sort of design there. You can see almost like a leaf pattern in a way, where you end up with that central spine, or maybe you just call it ribs. It's a cool look, but beyond that, it adds a little bit of grippiness. It's not over the top. It's not aggressive, and it's not really obtrusive. It's just enough to matter. I do like that. I think it's stylish, looks the part, and definitely something that's very cool. Shieldon has also been doing a nice job with their hardware. Pretty standard for the most part, as you can see here. Just a quality pivot assembly with a nice collar. So it's a little bit color matched, where you end up with that gray coating on the blade, the gray coating on the pivot collar, but then sort of matching off of the tan. It looks really good. And then up over the top of the knife, you can see here, it is and I believe that's going to be a steel liner on the inside, a little bit skeletonized. So as you take a quick look, you can kind of see it in there, skeletonized there on the clip side. And as we flip this around, skeletonized there on the show side, taking a little bit of weight off. Generally speaking, this is not overly heavy, but it's a nice sort of mid-sized knife, fills out your hand, and for me, just good for reasonably hard use in the EDC application. Couple other little subtleties here. You can see it does have a lanyard hole over the top, but that's built into the back spacer, which is definitely cool. Some jimping there. So if you did so choose to use this in a bit of a reverse grip, you get a little bit of traction there. Now, for me personally, usually my reverse grip goes over the top. It's not really sort of bearing on that, but the fact that it has the jimping, it's mild enough, it's chamfered, it's not aggressive. That works out just fine. And I don't find that there's any hot spots with that while it's in my palm. Sometimes that can be an irritant, but that's not the case here with the Relicanth. As we continue to move forward, you can see a couple of different deployment methods. So you have the flipper tab, so no problem there. But for me, what I do really like, I like the fact that it has the thumb studs. I am sort of more of that like original OG classic opening design, back in the day before they always had the flipper tab. I would be just as happy with this knife if it did not have the flipper tab and was just simply, thumb stud deployment, which I do like. Now, this particular blade steel in D2, I find that Shieldon's doing just a fine job with their D2. Not too flashy, basic budget friendly steel, but D2 is a fan favorite of mine. I have absolutely no problem with that. I know some people are getting sick of D2. Personally, I have no problem. It keeps the knife at a fairly reasonable price point. D2 is serviceable enough for my needs, has a good enough edge retention, and I am familiar enough with D2, I can get a nice razor sharp edge back on this if I need to. Keeping in mind, the in-house designer, Django, has been doing a wonderful job. He's been kind of carrying their lineup as their primary designer. So again, Django doing a nice job here with the Relicanth. And something else that has just been fantastic, you can see here, the nice deep ride carry pocket clip. The recessed screws there, no problem. And this clip is just about perfect. Some people have been giving Shieldon a little bit of a hard time for sort of offsetting and canting their pocket clips. I have literally no problem with that at all. To me, it's more important about the fact that A, this is tip up, B, it has a nice sort of relief, so the ability to get underneath, get it into your pocket in plenty of space, so no snagging, no worries there. I haven't caught this clip on anything. Sometimes pocket clips like this, you do have a tendency to get them caught on, different things, fabrics, materials, your couch, scratch it down the side of your car. No problem here so far. So that to me is a little bit more important than the exact positioning on the pommel end of the knife. And just in case you were curious, you do end up with your T8 hardware on the pivot screw and then T6s both on the body screws, and then inside here, those recessed pocket clip screws. So mix between standard T8 star bits and T6s. That's pretty much the norm for a lot of blades. You'll see some companies sort of getting away from the T6s, I think based upon some customer demand, really pushing more towards T8s. But this here, fairly straightforward and standard, no problem at all. Now, just getting a quick look at the packaging, Shieldon was providing an internal pouch with most of their knives, but at this point, I do believe they're going to be sort of shying away from that just a little bit, where in my opinion, something more in this line range that's sort of mid-priced and a little more towards the budget end. It doesn't necessarily need that collector's pouch. Now, I could see if this is a higher premium model, including that, but for the standard models, not a big deal. So here you can see the Relicanth, and pretty straightforward with its packaging. Now, just wrapping up a few details, things that I like. Nice lockup. You can see here on the liner lock there. Good quality lockup, no problem. Pretty much at about a third, which is where I'd expect it, so I don't have any problems there. And then in terms of the blade centering, just about perfect. So Shieldon's been doing a nice job. Again, perfect deployment, nice detent, no problem. I think that's about perfect. The action has been fantastic. I like that. And another thing that's worked out very well for me, I do like the fact that it's nice and clean in the top, just open across the top. You can get, cotton swabs in there and clean this out real easy. You don't necessarily need to take the entire knife apart to clean it. Sometimes it's nice where, you can't always get all the nooks and crannies from underneath. The access across the top has worked out well, so that's great. If there's just one thing I personally probably would have done different, and that's just my personal preference, where you have the nice coating on the blade, and then it matches in well with that pivot collar, and then sort of spinning around to the back on the pocket clip. You have a lot of sort of similar colors. I would personally have probably powder coated the frame. As you look inside there, that's just bare steel. It's okay. I think for me, it would have just been that nice little finishing touch just to powder coat that frame. But again, not a big deal. The Relicanth is definitely a great knife, and one for me that's just been a perfect EDC option. And so again, I'd like to say thank you very much to the people at Shieldon Knives who did provide this for review. Shieldon's been doing a nice job with their knives. You can see they've been getting these out to people and reviewers. A lot of people getting their hands on these. Everybody seems to like them. There is a lot of competition in this market space, so Shieldon's going to have to work really hard to differentiate themselves from the competition. I think there are some things that they're doing well. Generally speaking, the blade designs have been sound. The overall construction, manufacturing, and just functional features has been great. I like the fact that they're going sort of deep ride with the recessed pocket screws. That's solid. And some of the 3D work they're doing on their handle scales definitely adds some flair. So overall, Shieldon, nice job. And for the rest of you, if you like this content, do me a favor, take a look at my Outer Limitless 2 channel, which is more on the tactical and firearm side of things. That channel's growing quickly. I have a number of videos up there, so if you like what you see here on Outer Limitless, do me a favor and check me out on Outer Limitless 2. So alright guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.